it's me, Anu. Today I want to talk about eating disorder, bulimia. More specifically, I want to give a story about myself, my bulimia history, and also give the message that it's completely possible to recover from bulimia of 10 years plus. And while I give my story, I'm also hoping to put on makeup and get ready. So multitask. Right. So when I was around 10 years, 11 years, I started gaining weight. Well, I was never chubby child, maybe chubby, not even, I was never overweight child. I was never obese child or overweight range. I might have been on a normal range on a higher end, but I have never been like overweight. And even during the time when it was like 10 years, 11 years, when I started developing, because I started developing very early, I was still not overweight, but I was in the high range of the normal weight range. However, because I was developing really early as a young girl, so I think I was the first one in the class to develop breasts. I was 11 years old to have my period started. So overall, that itself actually was very unnerving. I just definitely felt like I don't belong. Also, I have never been like a small boned girl. I have always had wide shoulders, wide hips, and right, I never wasn't like a small size. Also, around the time I was like 11, there was one case where I went out with a friend of mine, like a new friend that I made. We went to a vacation with my family near like a beach resort, right? And I found a friend there who was 15 years old, and she wasn't like my typical friend, right? Because she's slightly older, but because there were no other kids around, we became friends. And so one night we went like out, we just like explored around, and we stumbled to like I think there were two guys who were like 18, 17, something like that, and they started hitting on us. And I remember I was really like shocked and I felt very uncomfortable. My friend started flirting. I didn't understand this behavior at all, and I really wanted to go, and so I made my friend go eventually, right? Even though we spent like quite a long, like several hours with those guys. And finally the friend came with me, and she said, you know, those boys told me that they think you are like 14, 15. So at that age, I don't know if they were drunk or, but because I was already developing breasts, I just looked older somehow. And they were completely okay hitting on me, and I had felt very uncomfortable. I didn't find it anyway desirable situation. Also, my classmate, one of my classmates, told that her brother thought that I'm slightly retarded or something, that maybe I'm like repeating a class because I look so much older than his sister, that I possibly cannot be the same age as his sister, and maybe I'm like, you know, repeating class and I'm just several years older, even though I wasn't. I was exactly the same age. It's just, what I'm saying is I looked older for my age, and that itself probably contributed to the fact that I started feeling like outside pressure to kind of look younger or not be as fat, even though I wasn't fat, but I started feeling fat. Also, there were like neighbor kids there were two girls who I sometimes played with since childhood, and they were like very small boned girls, and so they were really skinny all their life. And so even though I was completely normal compared to them, I looked bigger, so they always said, oh, you know, you're fat, when they wanted to be mean. So that's, even though I wasn't, right? If my pictures in a way, no way show me being fat in any way, shape or form. Also, my mom and dad, when I started developing, they were kind of slightly rude and started saying that I'm kind of chubby. I don't know why they did that. Later my mom, of course, learned that that was very bad behavior to say that to me, and she changed that later in my lifetime. But I guess when she was younger, or they were younger, they just didn't really realize what it means, what you're saying to your child, that you cannot say never ever to a child that they're chubby or something like that, that you need to eat less, because that's what my mom actually told me. And one time she even called me fat. Right, so I'm just saying all these things happened at a certain age, and so I felt like this need to start kind of lose weight, to diet. And around that time I became best friends with one of my classmates who also felt the need to diet. So two of us kind of became friends, starting talking, starting sharing ideas, and we started dieting together. Now, what was her reasoning for dieting? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I can say only that I know that dieting in her household was very prevalent. Her mother was dieting all the time, and her older sister was also dieting all the time. So that was something that she heard all the time at home. So maybe that's just something, when she came to a certain age, she just thought that that's what she's supposed to do. Also, and actually she developed full-blown anorexia, and had to be institutionalized, and etc, etc, etc. I feel like her story is not my story to tell, and so I'm not really going to talk about my friend. But basically I found a friend at this critical age of mine, dieting buddy, so to speak. And so basically I started dieting. So basically around 12, 13, 14, I was dieting hardcore. So hardcore that, well, I can't really remember so much of eating, not eating, but I remember that I didn't have a period for over a year. Even though I was never skinny, like, I guess for my body type, I was lean, right? But for my body type, I lost my period already when I was lean. I never had to become very, very skinny to lose my period. So it just means that it's just for my body type, I have to have certain amount of this softness in me, right? For my body to feel comfortable. Anyway, what happened after a couple of years of dieting was that I developed a very strong need to eat. Like, this ravenous hunger came over me. And this is something that happens to people, is when they it's like known that if you kind of don't give your body food for a long period of time, it kind of underfeeds itself, and at some point the body kind of takes over, and you just develop this crazy hunger. And so I ended up eating a lot. Like, it was this, actually it was like short period when it was this crazy hunger where I ate like jarfuls of jam or honey, or just very huge amounts of very sugary things. This means that something was really out of balance. But then my body normalized it, and I started eating normal. But to my mind, because I kind of gained the weight back, and I was actually completely normal at that point. I wasn't overweight in any shape or form. I was just completely normal. I felt like I am overweight and I'm fat and I'm ugly, and I've internalized it like that. And that's around that time, around 15, is when I started developing bulimia, right? So I started eating normally, but then I started also feeling that that normal eating is like overeating, and I somehow need to get rid of that food. Okay, I will continue talking about this while I put on makeup. Otherwise I just talk and my makeup never gets to my face. Actually, before I do foundation, I should put on primer. Today I'm going to use this sample of replenishing face primer from Hangover Too Faced. It's a small size. I don't know if I ever used it before. Yeah, I think I never used it before, so I just wanted to try it. Okay. It doesn't, because it's a sample size, it doesn't actually tell what's inside, what the ingredients are. And actually I like to put actually just under my on my forehead, on my bangs, I want to put darker foundation. Because I don't put much foundation on it itself. And so just the primer is already good enough. Right. I'm going to use Lancome. I guess that's the foundation I'll use right now. Right, so I developed eating disorder, and from that eating disorder the eating disorder, the bulimia that I developed, it continued for the next 10 years, which is a very long time, and I really messed up my teeth during that time. I don't know if I did any other damage to my body. I hope I didn't. I know my heart didn't show any way that it had been damaged, and overall my bulimia didn't ever get too bad that it was like continuous every day. Mostly the bulimia was where I think once it kind of formed itself, it took this shape where I used it as a coping mechanism, or like a certain behavior that I always did after I had like a stress release. It wasn't so much as when I was stressed, but when it was released. So for example, if I had a stressful week at school, like maybe an exam 2 or 3, then by Friday I felt like, oh, I did everything nice, I have deserved to eat something, and then I overate, and then I binged, right? Binged and purged, and then maybe continued it to Saturday. But normally it was on average once a week, so maybe, but overall it never became. There was few short periods where I had like several days in a row binging and purging, or several times in one day, but they were rare. I was usually never able to binge and purge several times in one day, which I think is good because it just would have damaged me more, my internal organs. Also, I feel lucky that I did come out of that anorexia kind of on my own. Even though I substituted with bulimia, I feel like I am lucky because my period had stopped because of the anorexia, but it came back and I started eating relatively normally, so I didn't do too much damage, except for during the times when I purged. But I feel like what I saw, what happened to my friend who still during college time was extremely thin, didn't have period, still during college time. So basically years and years and years of much more severe damage to the body. I feel like she went through much more and lost much more than I did. Now, one assumption what people have, or it's like a myth, is that when you binge and purge that you're able to lose a lot of weight. I feel that's not really true in general. So basically, because when you eat and by the time you start binging, a lot of it is already so down that you're not able to vomit it out or vomit out a significant amount. So actually you're not really losing that many calories. Also, in my case, I never changed my weight. I think my weight over the years has been just plus minus 5 pounds or something like that. But overall, I'm pretty much the same weight I was when I was in high school. So even though I went through a significant bulimia, like 10 years straight, I never gained weight, I never lost weight, really. And actually what I noticed was that during the time when I got better, I lost a little bit. So actually I noticed that my higher weight tended to be the time when I was more of a bulimic, and when I was better and didn't have so many bulimic episodes, I actually was weightless. And so I had bulimia when I did my bachelor's, when I did my master's in Estonia. I did my master's in 1 year. It was a 2-year program, but for some reason it was just way too easy. And then I came to America to do my PhD graduate studies, basically, PhD degree. And I was very lucky that this American university had a very good therapist. Well, actually, good stuff happened and bad stuff happened. So the good stuff that happened was that the therapist that I saw really gave me, like, actually I think she was the one who started me with like the healing process. Like, she was the first one who said that, you know, you're completely capable of recovering from it, right, without no issues later in life, that you're completely able to get out of it. So that was actually very big for me, because until then I never thought that I'm able to get rid of the bulimia. I honestly thought that I'm going to have it the rest of my life, that I just kind of live with this. I kind of had become comfortable with it, I guess. I just didn't even see it as any way abnormal or even very distracting to my life at the time, because it had been going on for just so long. The bad part was that I was also referred to see a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist put me on antidepressants, even though I was not depressed in any shape or form. And I guess it was the time where they were pushing antidepressants to everybody. Overall, you know, one of the side effects of antidepressants is that it can cause suicidal thoughts in young people. And I had those side effects. I started developing those side effects. And at the same time, I was seeing psychologist, a therapist, right? And even though she sees that I'm starting to develop these things, and I wasn't before suicidal, and now things are like coming to my head, she didn't put it together that maybe I should go off from pills, right? And that really pisses me off till this day. So for a while, I continued seeing them. I started getting better, I think, at some point, but not because any shape or form because of the pills, because of medication. I noticed that I started doing certain things, just behavior things. I changed, like, for example, what I changed was I got rid of any foods that are not allowed, like that are bad foods, or, you know, like, for example, cheesecake is normal food, right? Because what happens is that if you don't have those bad foods, then you don't overeat them, really, or at least that's the idea eventually, right? So one thing I started working initially was, yeah, just getting rid of the bad foods. That all foods are like okay, they're no good or bad foods, just okay foods. And I don't know if I actually made much more progress at the time, because I got really pissed off about those antidepressants, and I thought that something is really wrong, and it's not me. I thought that something is wrong with those pills, I shouldn't be taking them. And I went cold turkey. I stopped taking those antidepressants, and I stopped seeing the therapist and the psychiatrist, and I just stopped seeing them, because I felt that, you know, something is not right here. And I'm really happy that I did that, because I never have had suicidal thoughts after that. And I think it was really something to do with those pills, these medications they were giving to me, because, you know, if you're not depressed, then you shouldn't be taking antidepressants, right? So it really, really irritates me that, like, I feel like, you know, it was medical malpractice, really. And like, I was the stupid one who kind of got the bad end of it. So, but on my own, I continued to make progress. One thing I have kind of tried to do over the years, and it took me years and years to kind of perfect, but basically having meal times, which is kind of stupid. So I used to kind of eat like whenever. And that like actually it was very not good. So basically I felt like I can eat that many calories at a time, and then if I eat more, then you know I can't eat more. If I eat more, I have to binge. And sometimes I ate those calories already by like 2 p.m. and then you know I thought, okay, maybe I can eat a little bit, but if I eat more, then I have to binge, and then or not, then I have to purge. Sorry, but then what happened was from that little I already thought, well, you know, what the heck, all is lost anyway. Then I would start binging, and then I would start purging, and just the whole thing was just really messed up. So basically developing meal times really gave me this sense of feeling that the food is coming, right? So basically, like for example, today I have already had lunch, but I know that dinner is coming, right? I know I'm going to be fed pretty soon, just a couple hours from now. I'm going to eat something. So there's no really need to binge and purge or do any kind of overeating. I actually don't want to overeat because I want to be slightly hungry for the dinner, right? I want to be ready for the dinner. So yeah, that I think helped me a lot. Another thing was just getting used to with my body being the size it is. You know, all this life I have been pretty much the same shape, size, then, you know, and I'm not overweight. So why not just getting used to this idea that that's me? I'm never going to be at the lower end of the normal. I'm going to be either in the middle or on the high end of the normal weight range. I've always been like that, so that's fine. I'm normal weight. That's best for my, and this my setting weight is certain weight. I'm always going to be there. My body is going to keep me there. And, you know, that kind of thinking really helps with this getting to the intuitive eating, which actually now I have gotten. Right. What else was beneficial? I think that were the main ones that, and I think one of the last ones, very big ones, and all those things that I mentioned here that really helped me get out of this bulimia seem kind of like no big deals, but actually they were really hard to incorporate. Like they're all like normal eating behavior, but then to me they were not normal because my eating had become so abnormal, right? Right, and so the last one that really helped was that I stopped, like I said to myself, that even if I binge, I won't allow myself to purge. So what does it mean? So it meant that even if I overate, I had to live with that discomfort, this overeating feeling. And at least to me, that was completely enough after a few times that I didn't want to feel this way anyway. So that meant that next day I didn't want to binge anymore. I didn't want to overeat anymore next day, because originally what had happened was that I would binge, and then, you know, I would feel this discomfort, this overwhelming feeling that, oh, I have eaten so much, I want to get rid of it. And that the release of getting rid of that overwhelming feeling of overeating, quickly purging, you know, I would get this release and I would get back to normal. It actually felt really good. But then taking away that binge actually put the stop to this good feeling that the binge gives a good feeling, and actually I had to sit with that crappy feeling, the overwhelming, disgusting feeling. But now what happened is the next day I don't actually want to binge anymore because I don't want to feel like that. On the other hand, if I don't take the binge away, then the next day I'm okay, I will binge again because I know I'm very quickly going to get rid of that disgusting feeling. So it's okay to kind of binge, right? So when I got rid of the purging part, I was able to finally get rid of the binging part. And actually it went really easy after that. Like very quickly I started getting better when I got that one down. And so I think I got almost completely, like 99%, I was okay by the time. So about a year before I got pregnant with my daughter. So my daughter is now 7 years old. So I would say that it has been 8 years since I have been pretty okay. Right. So by the time I was pregnant, I was eating completely normally. So the way I eat now at the moment, I would consider calling it just intuitive eating. So basically I eat with my stomach, not with my brain, right? I just eat what I want to eat while still keeping certain rules that are not hard to keep, like meal times are not hard to keep. I also eat vegetables every day, bunch of vegetables. I eat fruit, these are my staples. I eat mostly organic food, and yeah, and we are also vegetarians. Yeah, I want the message to be from my whole today's video is that you're completely capable of recovering from bulimia if you have it. Also, I think it's possible to relapse. The reason I think it's possible is because I think that if I would start dieting today, I would decide that no, I need to lose like 10-15 pounds or however many pounds, and I would start like counting calories every day and thinking that, oh, I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't eat that, and that's just bad food and all this stuff. Then I think it eventually would lead to binging, and binging would lead to purging. And so like if I wouldn't have gone through the therapy, I think I would get back to it. But because I know where the kind of the bad parts are, the dangerous parts, then at the same time I think I'm never going to get bulimia again. Like it could happen if I would do something wrong, certain things wrong, but at the same time I know I'm never going to do those things wrong again, because I just know that they would lead to no good. Okay, that's it for today. Have a good day. Bye.